Okay, here we are live and in person. Whatever you're comfortable. So I have some ideas, and it's good we have some beginners here. So I'm just going to go into it. So over the years, we've always talked about 5 things you have to do to get what you came here for. Okay. But what did you come here for? So we're going to talk a little bit about health and fitness, self-defense, and a lot of people say philosophy. Five things to get what you came for. Let's just say, a lot of people come for socialization. Okay, this pretty much covers it though. Obviously, if you're around people, you're gonna have some socialization. But we always want this place to be your special place to focus on you. To not get caught up in stuff. Too many people want to talk about politics and religion and stuff. Don't do that. Just come here and practice. You know, a dojo, Japanese dojo, is the place to work on yourself. Literally the place of enlightenment. And enlightenment is that raising the consciousness to realize who and what you really are. Okay? But we're going to talk about the 5 things a little bit. So number 1, show up. So showing up.
Oh, showing up.
Here. Showing up to class. One thing, right? You got to literally show up. You get inspired, you get corrected, you learn new things, right? You have to show up. Show up here on this, online. You show up regularly, a couple times a week at least. Then, if it's 2 to 3 times a week to show up in class, at least 1 to 2 show up in your own special place. Give yourself some training on your own. Don't worry about being perfect. There's no such thing. I'm now in my 37th year with this stuff, and there's no such thing as perfect. And I'm never bored. Why? Think about that. Ask yourself why. I'll tell you, the number one reason for boredom and the number one reason why I don't get bored is because if there's anything that I've gotten pretty good at, it's my mindfulness, my focus. 100% doing what I'm doing. It makes it, as I said in the class before, literally like a spiritual experience when I'm practicing. Because what is spiritual, really? We're not talking religious. That's something else. That's personal beliefs. I'm talking about something that connects you to all that is something you fully engage yourself in. A rock climber on the edge of a rock can have a spiritual experience, right? I'm just biased to martial arts, but you're fully engaged in something. And in some cases, like martial arts, you could, if in old times you were in a battlefield, your life was threatened, like the rock climber, right? Your life could be in harm's way. Your focus is, you're there. You're not going to be worried about your bills, you know, or my wife was mad at me. You're not thinking about that when you're about to possibly die. Does that make sense to everybody? 100% full engagement, okay? So I got into that because I was saying, show up on your own, by yourself. Just practice what you know, whatever it is, whatever your level. Do to the best of your ability what you've done in class. If it's Qigong, think about the class, the way it starts from simple and gets more and more complex through the quarter. You try to do that. And if you regularly go through your warm-ups, your body is getting conditioned. It's getting in better shape, and it's getting more mobility, flexibility, and you're getting used to the discipline of actually doing it. So showing up in your own practice place is another big part. Health and fitness, showing up, kind of automatic. That's why I said just doing your warm-ups, already your health and fitness is starting to improve, right? If I'm talking self-defense, show up. What's that? So in class, we do some partner work. Beginners do prearranged, more advanced get more and more free. And the better you get at the attack and defense concepts, the better, one, obviously, your partner can try harder to get you. And we always say, if you get hit, it's your fault, not your partner's. So that attitude, oh, punch me in the nose, like I have to improve my defense. It's this ego, just keep it down and look at yourself and say, I need to be better at that. But also, if you're by yourself, partner work, then by yourself. Your intention is 10 times, 50 times better with what's real and what's not. You're not going to be fantasizing about how to make a block or step out of the way of something, because you can imagine something you did in class, and when you move out of the way, you can feel as if their power was there. You can feel it. And when you feel something and it's real, your body responds like it's real. So now, again, you're fully engaging yourself. See? And I have to move down here because practice hard, practice right. Oops, hard, right. Kind of coming together. You have to improve them all. So you got to be willing to sweat. You got to be willing to, make those muscles ache a little. If you're a little sore a couple of days later, you have to know it's naturally part of the process. A little soreness is also a message to your body, to your brain, to make your body stronger. Because you're asking more, your brain has to make your body be able to handle more. If you were suddenly forced into a labor camp, just imagine you have no job and you have to go work physical labor, right? Now you're forced into that physical labor. You're not used to it. You know how you're going to feel the first couple of days? Like you're going to die. But shortly after, a couple of weeks in, you're going to be as strong as an ox. Your body will completely change for the demand you're putting on it. And that goes both ways. The demand on you or the lack of demand on you. Your body gets weaker with a lack of demand, and it gets stronger with the resistance, basically. That's why I kept using that term with the Bible. Because the Bible, the opening the legs is like prying them open. So you have to work with the resistance being yourself. Your own lack of mobility and strength. And when you get to a range that your body's not comfortable in, some shaking maybe. And maybe tomorrow or the next day hurts. And then you think, oh, I'm injuring myself. No, injuries are pretty much right away. You'll know right away, going home, something's wrong. Then you need to back off. But if you're sore tomorrow, the next day, you're not hurt. Your body's just worked hard. And anybody who's ever exercised understands that. So train hard, practice hard means if you're going to put 10 minutes or 10 hours, not too many doing that, but let's just say, then it's to the best of your ability so that you get the best results. Simple as that. And then practice right, obviously, I keep saying to the best of your ability. Well, Shifu, I really can't remember what to do. You do it anyway, because then when you go to class, if you did some, you're going to know that. Let's say you out of 5 points, you know 3, but you're screwing up the other 2. It could be the way you punch, or it could be 5 moves. I'm just saying percentage, like 60% of what you're doing is good, and the other 40% is not good. Well, then you get back to class and you get corrected. But if you don't practice on your own, you have 100% that wasn't digested. You have to digest it by doing it. So it's okay to do it wrong because you're in a school that you're learning. You're going to get help. Senior students, everything, they're going to help you get it right. So you got 60%. Before you know, you got 80%, 4 out of 5. Then you got 100%. And then that's pretty much mastered. Then maybe your body's ready for something else. See? So practice right to the best of your ability also means respect your teacher. I don't mean me, I mean whoever's teaching you. Respect who's teaching you by having enough focus to not forget the teaching. Make sense? Because it's your time. I always tell students, I'll tell you 1,000 times the same thing. You don't get it. It's not my fault. You're wasting your time. Because another thing we all have to learn, patience. It takes how long it takes. You know, I could correct a senior student many years here, and then if you start questioning why I do this, why? Senior students know better than to do that because, I mean, they understand the process. And if you didn't practice something right, it doesn't matter if you did it 1,000,000 times. The only problem with 1,000,000 times is it's hard. It needs 2 million to fix it. That's the problem. So, okay, you can't go back the 1,000,000 times. You can go forward, and then it takes patience to get the 2 million times in. But you have to have patience. Be nice to yourself ultimately. It takes how long it takes. And then, of course, meditation, which kind of ties in. Practicing right involves focus, mindfulness, full engagement. So you put them all together, but meditation, sitting, like we're going to do later, starts to teach your brain what it is. So it gets more used to it. Because if you're always used to sort of the chaos of life and the overthinking and worrying and guilt maybe you have, or anger and all these feelings getting into your thoughts, that's your habit, that's your default. Everybody understands default? Like a computer, this is your default. Your default is stressed. But if you regularly practice meditation properly and actually meditate, because in the beginning you're not, you're just practicing, trying to focus really. Try to get the mind to one place, but eventually meditation, you start to go deep, the thoughts just stop. You can't stop thoughts. You have to learn how to focus on one thought until the mind stops the other thoughts. Happens automatically. That's why the mind starts thinking again, come back to the one thought, one focal point. Remember that. So that training, you get better and better where you get past the thought, past the focal point, and now your default can be more settled, calmer, more relaxed, really more optimistic, positive. All those things kind of go along with it because you don't have this chaos, this overthinking happening anymore. So your practice is leading to that experience not being bored. Because when you practice and you're kind of thinking, oh, I have to do this, my laundry, I'm getting a little hungry, your mind's all over again. It's just like inefficiency at work. Many have said in 2 hours, you could do what most people do in 8 very easily if you're focused. This is very true. Studies have been done and how much money businesses could save with the employees and how much wasted time. School, kids don't need all these hours and years of school. You could teach them the material very quickly. Homeschoolers can be 3-4 years ahead if they just focus on getting the material and then enjoy life, basically. So there's a system in place to really rob us of our time, which also makes a habit of all this chaos and thinking. Instead of concentrated time being the real habit, Well, now you're not bored because you're engaged. Does that make sense to everybody? You're bored when your mind's all over the place. You're not bored when you're focused. And add why. Your why you practice, your reason. So that's why. You just start moving, do the warm-ups already, you're gonna be healthy, you're gonna be more fit. You start getting more difficult drills or exercises, your body's gonna get more mobile and stronger. But a lot of people don't think about it for health and fitness. You know, it's just like, oh, I go for walks every night. I jog, I do the elliptical, some people say, you know, spinning class. I want you to think about all of the examples I just gave. Elliptical, spinning, running, walking, anything. It's one motion repeated over and over and over. So you get some circulation, and it's absolutely better than not doing anything. Because when you push the blood flow, you do some intensity, let's say the elliptical, whatever exactly that is, but the intensity, then you're pushing your blood flow so your vessels get more pliable. It's actually been proven. In fact, the most recent study I've seen is that 4 seconds. If you just bound up the stairs in 4 seconds and your heart starts pumping stronger, you already activated your vessels to keep them more supple, more pliable. So you're less likely to have things like arteriosclerosis or the vessel issues as we get older, because your vessels have been challenged. So yeah, any exercise that does that is exercise. But anybody who's getting a little older, he's 40s, see, they're young, 20s, but everybody else is 50, 60, 70, more almost. Anybody feel stiff? Nobody gets stiff, right? No, that's not a, yeah, it doesn't matter if you walk, you're not going to be less stiff. Maybe a little less than the person who just sits all the time. But you have to take the body through its range of motion. Every joint has to go through a range of motion. There's a lot of people cannot just do a simple thing like this, raise their arms and touch their ears. You know, the body has to have a full range of motion. A lot of people's like, you get less and less and less. And it's just lack of asking your body to do it. So our practice, if your focus is health, if your reason is really to be healthy and fit, it's about understanding all the range of motion of all the joints. There's hundreds of joints in the body. So just a little walking doesn't exercise many joints. Everybody can imagine that, right? And Bagua adds the circle. What is different from the circle and the straight line? Instead of always straight, you start to get twisting. You can twist in and you can twist out. So now your ankle, your knee, your hip starts to get already some more mobility. Even you're still walking, but you're walking on angles. So Bagua already is better than just walking like a treadmill or something, right? All the different, well, look at the 13 exercises. It covers a lot. Reaching down towards the foot, right? The flexibility of the leg, and then the flexibility on some angles. So your ability to bend, and then later your ability to bring your leg up is creating more elasticity. So let's say you just, you know, wintertime, you slip on the ice and your muscle gets pulled hard. You don't end up in the hospital like somebody who's not moving regularly. Everything will respond to the demands you put on it. So now your range of motion, you maintain it as you get older. And you don't wake up like you're 90, unless you're 90. But the 90-year-old maybe feels like they're 70. You know, it's like, literally use it or lose it. And if you're feeling stiff a lot, let's go back to the mirror. Look at yourself. Why? Why am I so stiff? I need a doctor's appointment? Not if you're in the school. You use these. Here. Every joint, hundreds of joints has to go through a range of motion. Every joint. You think about it, every joint. If your rib cage is tight and stuck, then your breathing and your heart isn't going to be working as well. That's why a major component for health and fitness is the organs. What's more important than your organs? Obviously, your heart is the emperor, but all of them. The liver is the major filter. The kidney is another filter. If they're compressed and stiff and getting old and degenerating, well, then your whole body's going to be full of toxins because it's like you change the oil in your car, you always change the filter, right? Our filter needs to stay clean. And then the organs need exercise just like the rest of the body. So let's say you always sit and you always sit on an angle. Well, I'm leaning to my right. I could be choking off part of my liver. So now the liver is not going to work right. So that's why you'll start to learn proper relaxation and posture helps all the organs sit in the proper place so they get good blood flow and they can function properly. Health and fitness. But people don't think about that. I walk, I just go from a, it's not enough. Not nearly enough in order to have them both the slow down the aging process, age gracefully. We have more control than people realize. Okay, go again, self-defense. Now, you need the partner. Practice right. What's practice right? Yeah, partner offers the attack. More realistic as you get better. And realistic is not just, trying to knock your head off. Realistic is actually to a target, even if it's slow. But when there's a body behind it, you see things you thought would work don't. So you need to test. What if this? What if this? You're supposed to do research. You research possibilities. Let's say you're a woman and you work late at night at a mall or something. You come out to the parking lot. What's the number one line of self-defense? I know some people know. You need to know awareness. Awareness and meditation go together. Your mind is more centered. You're more fully engaged in your life. You're going to have a much more awareness automatically. Automatically. Then you think of just ABCs. B, breathe. Be calm. Breathe and be calm allows you to think, how do I get out of this situation? So some basics to the self-defense. It's not just punching and kicking. In other words, we start talking about show up, practice hard, practice right. What do I need if I want to be able to defend myself? Yeah, awareness. The aware person is very unlikely to get jumped by a stranger. They want somebody who's easy. Breathe and be calm has to do with you're in the situation, allows you to keep thinking. And what else? Communicate with confidence. You say no. You say, I don't want a problem. You say, back off. You communicate. You don't go, please don't hurt me. That's an invitation. You communicate strongly, loudly, be heard by anybody else who might be around. Yell and scream if you have to. Communicate, make it clear. I'm not a victim. I'm not going to be easy. Because if the awareness failed and you're engaged with somebody who wants to do you harm, well, do you want to become like an animal and scare them, turn the tables, or do you want to be a victim and easy for them to do whatever it is they want? So this is different, right? Now we're talking not just fighting, we're talking about the stuff before that. And now about the physical. That's why I said, something physical touches you, it feels a certain way. You need a partner. Then by yourself, you can imagine that feeling. That's why we can use things to develop our body structure, not just arm. Like, remember, Bagua Zhang, literally 8 trigram palm, but 8 trigram is in the body, is all the changes. So it's whole body palm. If I'm going to use this hand, everything right down to my big toe is involved with using this hand. Everything in between. Can you imagine that? You're training your body to be a unit, to work as one. So you need to use it. So if you're a 110-pound woman, 110 pounds here can overcome even a bigger person if they understand something else. What target gets the job done. There's a good one. If you ever got hit hard in the nose, it can be shocking. You can make your eyes water, and it gives you an opportunity to get out of the situation, which goes back to breathe and be calm. Because your goal in a self-defense situation is not to win the fight. Your goal is to get out of the situation. We're not talking octagon, MMA trophies and stuff. We're talking life-saving self-defense. The goal is to get out of the situation. And if you focus that way, you'll figure out a way out. Better chance anyway. I hope that makes sense. That's why. How does this apply to self-defense? And then last one here, a lot of people like philosophy. So everybody knows, well, hopefully young people, maybe not as much, but they remade the new one, right? Cobra Kai, everybody heard of that? Yeah, don't laugh, because you go back to the original Karate Kid and Mr. Miyagi, and what you'll find is the philosophy. Like how he responds to problems, and how Danielson is freaking out over things, and Mr. Miyagi is always calming them down. It's teaching real traditional martial art philosophy, how to handle life. So simply going back to a movie like that can teach you a lot. And there's been a number of things made over the years, but we have our lessons in mindfulness created by Shifu Brown out in the Detroit area, Michigan. And it's a phenomenal course that we have every month. And it gets you applying your practice to your everyday life. And in there, as well as in our curriculum, any level you're at, we have books required or at least recommended. You should read those books. You fill your mind with the thoughts and ideas of those who've practiced for many, many years. And there's ancient texts from ancient masters, and there's more modern texts in the modern world that have been recommended because they're selected for your learning. Like we train Bagua Zhang, but one of the first books that are recommended is what? Zen in the Martial Arts, and then Karate Do. Karate Do was written by Funakoshi. This is karate. But it goes back to a time with how the name came into Japan and how he was involved with that, the empty hand, where it used to be China hand, but they like to take that away because Japanese don't like that. But anyway, empty hand. But then he talks about experiences and how it's his responsibility not to hurt someone because they're not right in the head and they want to do you harm. But if you're trained, you have a responsibility not to hurt them. So you're learning how to get the ego out of these self-defense situations too. That's the philosophy. It's how I live, how I approach problems in my life. Kodo. Who read Kodo? That's out of print. But I got a bunch of them for people to borrow. We get it because it's so much about the philosophy of being a student, teacher-student relationship, your responsibility in a dojo or dojo, And it just, again, the philosophy of being a martial artist, the responsibility of being a martial artist, and it goes from here into your day-to-day life. You want to know the philosophy? You have to keep feeding yourself. Just like good food. You want good health? You need good food. You want good philosophy? You need good messages. Keep chewing and digesting, and then apply it to the best of your ability. So that's what I mean. Show up could be, you buy the book and you open it. You don't just put it on your shelf and forget it. You show up, right? Train hard means when you're tired, you don't feel like reading, but you commit yourself to 10 or 15 minutes, try to read some, so that over time it accumulates. And you basically, maybe just before bed, you go to sleep with a good message in your mind, rather than TV that got you all emotionally involved, right? People say, I just want to relax and watch a movie, and it's like shooting and violence and whoever knows. Oh, zombies, Walking Dead. Good messages. Something more philosophical, something more spiritual. You put good messages in, and then you go to sleep. Positive breeds positive. Like breeds like. Always have patience. One more time. You're not going to overnight be healthy and fit. It takes time and it takes work, and it's going to be, you're going to have some soreness and discomfort. But gradually, if you're consistent, remember Kung Fu, achievement through consistent effort over time. It's literally time and work. But this is my elaboration to make sure it's clear, because it's about achievement. And anyone great at anything is good Kung Fu. So achievement through consistent effort over time. That's how you'll be healthy. That's how you'll be fit. You have to get good food, natural food. You can't eat all these fast foods and all this crap and expect your body to be healthy and strong. You have to make an effort. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And you have to be consistent with that effort. Self-defense, you're not going to suddenly magically with a couple-hour class that people are like, can I do a self-defense class? It's like, yeah, I can talk about awareness. I can talk about the breathe and become. I can talk about that communication. We could talk about scenarios. You could literally read my book. The addendum has all the self-defense concepts right there. It's already right there. But you need to physically do too, right? You have to practice in your life. You have to walk down the street and practice awareness. You walk down the street and practice awareness. You walk with wide angle vision. You look straight ahead and you see the buildings on the side, and you drive like that too. You're developing yourself. The martial artist is always developing themselves. So self-defense, yeah, same thing. Patience. It will come naturally, and you just find that it just works. Eventually, it just works. And the philosophy too. Again, you're not going to read one book and magically be turned around. You know, it's like Zen in the martial arts, early training. Everybody read that, right? Zen in the martial arts. It's a life changer. Simple little book. It's a life changer. But you can forget it. So you have to keep feeding yourself. Be patient with the changes, because all of a sudden something goes bad in your life. You face a year like we've been facing. What happens to your insides? That tells you the truth. How much you've mastered yourself is going to show in the worst of times. Your training, your real results is when the you know what hits the fan. And sometimes it's not a day or a week or a month. Sometimes you're in a bad situation for a long time. How are you caring for your inner world? What's the effect of your practice on your inner world? Are you pretending to be calm? You know, you look calm on the outside, but on the inside, you're like this. Breathe. Becomes a habit. Breathe. Use your nose, breathe through your belly, Make that a habit, stay more in open, wide angle vision, have this inside default feeling much calmer. Then you're going to deal with these things, this world, this craziness, what's going on around us. We'll deal with it much better. And if things happen to get worse, well, you'll have the mind and the focus and the ability to get more and more prepared. It's like, okay, this is what I got to deal with. To me, that's what a martial artist lives like. It's not much different than a soldier. It's be prepared. You think and you work your way through, and if things are better than you prepared for, that's the best, right? But it's the inner world is feeling like I'm doing something to help myself. I'm not ignoring it and just hoping. I'm actually doing what I need to do, just like your practice. I'm doing what I need to do so I can develop and be a better me. You be a better you than before. I guarantee you do the work, you'll be better than if you don't. It's really that simple. So let's go to meditation.